All right, continuing with my absolute love and obsession of Song of Ice and Fire series, I have now read the Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and I've fallen in love with Sir Duncan the Tall and Egg, and they're wonderful, and this story, I am very, very biased. I'm obsessed with the Targaryen dynasty. I love that time period in this world so very much. I'm pretty sure I'm more excited for the second Fire and Blood than I am Winds of Winter. Yes, which means I'll probably be disappointed on both fronts, but I'm hopeful. I'm delusional. But getting into this series, spoiler-free first, obviously I adore it. I'm going to love anything in this time period, but I adore Sir Duncan the Tall. He may very well be my favorite knight in all of Westeros. Sorry, Jaime Lannister. So, essentially, raised from Flea Bottom, a giant of a man, Brienne of Tarth, possible relative, and seeing him know what it's like for the common folks because he lived in Flea Bottom, came up through it, but the humility and kindness that the man he squired for brought into him as he was taught knighthood and chivalry and respect and honor. I love this man and everything. He is realistic while being as close to honorable and a good knight as you can possibly be. And I love that for him. Even though at no point in time do I actually believe he's a knight. He is introduced as a hedge knight, but we'll get into that later. While not confirmed, in my opinion, it's confirmed. And then you have Egg, the best boy, his squire. Love him to death. Get into that later. This story follows them on their adventures through Westeros, going to tourneys, fighting for small lords, settling land disputes, getting their hands on a dragon egg. And then there's rebellion, and we're expanding the world and the history and the people, and I love it. Going into spoilers, because there's nothing else I can say other than the fact that while in a different author's hands, I'd be worried, or a complaint I would have would be this is almost fluff, not lower stakes, because I know where all these characters are going to end up. So any danger they're in currently, I'm like, well, they gotta get out of it, because they gotta go do this in the future. This is George R. R. Martin. He's still able to upset me. I'm very angry about one of the deaths in this series. So there's that. All right, going into spoilers for the Hedge Knight first, we have Sir Duncan the Tall, and he is burying the man he was squire for and claims that he had just knighted him. So now he's going to go to a tourney to win some prize money, hopefully, because he's really got no money. And like I said, at no point in time do I actually believe that he was actually knighted. I think that he had every intended to be knighted, but the man that he was squiring for, I think he died before he got the chance to actually do it, as there were no witnesses. I believe this because later in, because any knight can make a knight, Sir Duncan doesn't feel that he is qualified to knight somebody else, and I think that's because he knows technically he's not a knight. And then that would put dishonor on this young man who's putting his life on the line for Duncan. So I don't actually think he's a knight, but he is my favorite regardless. And then you have Egg, the best boy. I love him so very much. It is revealed probably by the midway point of the story that he is actually Prince Aegon, in line for the throne. The fourth son of the current king, I believe. So we have King Darion. His first son is Baelor. And then his Baegor's brother is, starts with an M, and then Aegon is his fourth son. So he's very far away from the position of being king. And this sweet boy is my favorite, one of my favorites of the Targaryens, because he's such a hard worker. He's found at a roadside inn, mistaken for a stable boy, got all kinds of sass and snark, and Duncan's always threatening to hit him upside the ear, and this boy is the hardest worker from the get-go. All he wants is to be a squire for a good knight, but his brother is a coward and doesn't want to be a knight, so has run off and left him there. And he's like, hey, you're a knight, you're big, you're tall, you're going to the tourney, let me be your squire, and follows him to King's Landing and convinces him to be a squire. And again, I love throughout this series that he is never this spoiled brat. hard worker from the beginning, but still got those little princely moments where he's full of himself saying, I'm almost too good for this. Like, I said I would squire for you and serve you and do everything you say. I didn't agree for that other knight there. Why am I doing what he says? And he is learning about the common people and their wants and goals and wanting to protect them and learning how people view him and his family and prejudices through like people who have bastard names and his misinformed interpretation of them and prejudice towards them himself. I love Egg. He is going to be fantastic. I want a whole more short stories with him and Duncan and him on the Iron Throne and everything. I want it all. Now, because Duncan does not have a witness for anyone saying, yeah, he's a knight, he was knighted, I seen it, he has to get, like, someone to vouch for him that he knew this man he was serving under, starts with an A, Arlan or something like that. And he ends up accidentally walking into a meeting between two of the princes, the heir apparent to the throne, Prince Baelor. It is Baelor, right? Yeah, pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. They use the same names, and I keep thinking Baelor the Blessed. Targaryen's got to stop using the same name over and over again. And then his brother, not Maegor, Maekar, at least he tried to change it, which is Aegon's father. And they're kind of in a heated discussion. Sir Duncan the Tall walks in, is like, oh, I'm sorry, and he explains why he's there and didn't mean to interrupt, and Sir Baelor, or not Sir Baelor, well, he is, Prince Baelor is just like, hey, I remember the man you're speaking about. He must have told you this story. How does this end, or how many lances did he break fighting in this battle, or whatever, who'd he on horse? And Sir Duncan's able to answer that, and it's like, yeah, so only his squire would have known that. I'll vouch for you myself. Prince Baelor is fantastic. Would make a wonderful, lovely king of the Seven Kingdoms. He is the most kind, and he stands up for what's right. He's just looking for good people to surround himself with. I'm giving this man too much credit for such short page time I had with him, but I love this man. George R. R. Martin, why do you hurt me? Because later, Duncan doesn't know that Aegon is Aegon, so instead, he still thinks he's Egg. So he puts him up on his shoulders, they're watching the tourney, and then Egg up on his shoulder is screaming for the prince, what's his name? Arion? Punchable Face Man. This prince, his cousin or brother? No, brother, it's his brother. To be killed in the tourney for his opponent to go ahead and kill him. And I'm just like, sir, you're threatening the prince? Please, you shouldn't do that in a crowd of public who no one knows that you are also a prince. Anywho. Then later, they watch a puppet show to which Punchable Face Prince ends up attacking the woman and the puppeteer because a dragon is killed in the performance. And they're like, that's spreading revolution. The dragon can never lose. And he's I think he breaks her fingers or something like that, and Egg has come running to Duncan saying, you have to help them, because the other guards and knights are too far away for anyone that he can get to. So he goes to Duncan begging for help, and Duncan goes in and breaks up the fight and punches the prince in the face, I think knocking out some teeth, and it's wonderful. It's a delight, except he just punched the crown prince, a Targaryen, Blood of the Dragon. It does not go well for him. So he's immediately guards and arrested, to which Egg immediately steps up and say, hey, I'm a prince too, get your hands off him. And they're like, let's take this to your boy's father. So Maekar ends up being like, how dare you strike my son? I'm going to have you executed. And Prince Baelor, the wonderful, wonderful man, is just like, hey now, your son started this, and he was defending an innocent civilian. Egg kind of pulled him into it. Let's all discuss this reasonably, and I think I can talk them down from getting a death sentence to just losing a hand and a foot. Maybe a foot. Might be able to save the hand. You might just lose the foot. And Duncan's just like, hold up now. That can't work. No, please no. And then eventually Prince Baelor is just like, how good of a knight are you? And he's like, what do you mean? Well, you're entitled to a trial by combat. So Sir Duncan agrees to that, only for it to turn into a trial by 7. So you have 7-on-7 fight, winner take all, unless someone, like, withdraws the complaint. But Punchable Face, can I call him Punchable Face Dragon? Because I'm doing that for One Piece, and I feel I will get confused and start calling him Charlos. Anywho, Punchable Face Targaryen, as well as his father, Prince Maekar and some of the Kingsguard and I'm going to call him a Turncloak because he might as well be, are on one side. Sir Duncan gets 5 other men, and they're missing the one because Turncloak went over there. And Egg and him are trying to plead to the public, saying, hey, knights, I fought with you, I served this castle, or my former, the one I squire for did. Please help us. You know what we did is right. I'm true kind of thing. Help us out. Be a good person here. Stand for what's right and the innocent and the weak. That's what you're supposed to do. Defend them. That's what I did. And no one will stand up for them. No one will stand up against House Targaryen. So Sir Baelor, I keep calling him Sir, Prince Baelor comes to the rescue in his son's armor. And it's just like, I will stand with you. The heir apparent to the Iron Throne, my darling, comes to his aid. And they continue the fight, and because the Kingsguard cannot harm the prince, they can only defend themselves. So that pretty much puts them out of the fight. One of the other ones on his side is who made a complaint against Duncan, says early on, like, I'm just falling off my horse. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not fighting, so don't worry about me. And Sir Duncan ends up taking down Prince Punchbowl Face Targaryen and forcing him, beating him until he withdraws the complaint and ends the fight. And it's wonderful. He swears to be Sir Baelor's man and fight with him and serve him. And it's wonderful. And while Sir Baelor, Prince Baelor, whatever, is saying, okay, get a maester for this man, he's about to drop, takes off his helmet, the back of his skull comes off. And we watch as the wonderful Prince Baelor dies, just like it has been hinted with a dragon dream that had been mentioned earlier. And I'm so upset. I'm so upset. But then, something half decently good comes from it as Maekar, so his younger brother, who goes to Duncan afterwards, and this is the man more or less responsible for pushing for the trial by 7 because of the insult to his family and his sons. And Duncan's just like, was my foot really worth the cost of a prince? Why am I here and he's gone? And Maekar's just like, I do not know, but it was my strike that killed him, and everyone's going to think I'm a kinslayer now, and that name will follow me for the rest of my life. This is going to haunt me for the rest of my life. And for the record, I truly do believe this was an accident. I don't think he intended to kill his brother. Maybe there was some rage, maybe there was some jealousy, maybe he knocked him off on purpose, but I don't think he intended to kill him. I don't believe that. He got me convinced he didn't mean it. He might have, though, because who knows. But then, he's like, my son Egg has said that he will squire for no knight but you, so come to Summerhall, there's a position in my court, and yada yada, you'll serve and teach him there. And Dunk's like, you know what? No, that's not right. I will teach him the way I was taught, in the muck, in the ditches, sleeping in some lord's castle, on the ground beneath the trees, something. And the prince is just like, are you out of your mind? He's a prince of the Seven Kingdoms. He's not made to sleep in ditches and eat hard salt beef. And to which Duncan's just like, yeah, your punchable face Targaryen son also probably only had rare beef. And the other one, who's just pretty much a coward, intellectual, it's not his, he doesn't want to fight, he's forced to fight. He's not that bad, but he's a liar, and I don't like him that much. He probably never slept in a ditch the day of his life. Maybe it would serve both of them better if they had. So Maekar's just like, you know what? Egg, go see the world, learn the common people, sleep in a ditch. You're in Sir Duncan's care. Bring him back alive. And they go off. They see the Seven Kingdoms. It's wonderful. I love them together so very much. I love Duncan's shield, which is like an elm tree. What he used to sleep under is like, I don't need no pavilion. I have a tree to protect me from the elements and the rain. There's a shooting star in the sky at sunset. All this on his shield. And half the time he's being like, hope for the future, but also possible themes of death as the star is falling and the sun looks like night is approaching and death is coming. I'm like, I love this first short story. Is definitely my favorite. The second one, not so much. I'm not a fan of the second one. What's it called? Sworn Sword or something like that? Yeah, Sworn Sword. I'm going to skip by this one pretty quick. They are going to some small lord's castle. They're serving him. They're helping out. Egg is being a little bit snarky to all the other characters, because he is throughout the entire books. He just does not hold his tongue, and he's wonderful. I love Egg. I love everything about Egg. And again, he's a prince, but as Egg, he kind of knows when to hold his tongue, but a lot of the times he's still very quip. There's quips in the way he's saying. It's lovely. I love him. So a drought takes place, and they go and figure out that the Lady Weber of the land next door has built a dam to redirect the water flow. They get into a fight, and Duncan ends up having to defend a man with no honor himself, putting everyone else at risk, as the lady of the neighboring land wants revenge and take him and like cut his nose off for how he injured one of her men. Retribution. No, she's not giving back the water. Hey, everyone here will die of starvation if they can't get water for their fields. Yeah, well, I got my own fields to plow and water. My own people to think about. And then you have them pretty much going into war and training up the regular common folks to prepare for battle, and these are just farmers. So Egg is learning about the cost of war on the innocents and seeing them and knowing them, calling them by name, and knowing if this does go to war, they are going to die. They are not ready for this. So he's just like, well, why don't I use my boot where I have a coin or ring or something to signal that I'm a Targaryen, do not hurt me, and we can call my father's men to help. And Duncan's like, no, you can't do that every time. Your secret has to be kept. We can't let anyone know your identity. I have to keep you safe. And besides, regular people this happens to, they don't get to call in the royal army. So it's really impacting how Egg will view war in the future. I also love how when he goes to meet with the Lady of the Other Lands, he's like, Egg, you're staying here. It's too dangerous. Your father will kill me if you get hurt. To which Egg goes to the Lord and has been like, hey, it would look really good if Duncan goes with his proper squire in full, like, get up and nice clothes to meet with her. He's like, yeah, that's a good idea. I see no reason. Duncan, do you see a reason why you can't bring your squire? No, sir, I see no reason. That's a very good plan. Because he can't tell him that he's a Targaryen. And Egg is so smart, and I love him. Then they meet with the lady. There's talks. I don't like her. Yeah, I'm just skipping over things. Fire happens. Goes somewhat war. One-on-one battle. Duncan almost drowns in a river. Ends up winning. Had told her that Egg was a Targaryen, which is how they got to the one-on-one fight. I love Egg as always repeatedly saying, hey, can I use my boot? Hey, can I use my boot? And Duncan's the one who ends up using the boot. And then wakes up. He had kind of fallen in love with this Lady Weber person, and she really respected him, wanted him to stay, but she ends up marrying the Lord that they were staying with to bring peace between the two things. And it turns out he had been on the Blackfire side of the rebellion, which is how he lost the river in the first place. More on the Blackfire rebellion in the next story. And she had hated him because she viewed he was responsible for getting her true love, his son, killed. And then now she's just going to marry him. So, Song of Ice and Fire, what can you do? And then you go into the Mystery Knight. I did enjoy this one more than the second novel, but less than the first, and that is another tourney. There's a dragon egg as the grand prize. It's for like a wedding, and you get more interacting with other knights. Egg being a delight, as they're like, why are all these knights talking to me like I'm scum, like I'm your squire? Why do you make me help their horses? I should only be helping yours. And Dunk just being like, you have to do what I'm telling you. We get more history on the Blackfire Rebellion, which I want more on so very much. I love how you have Egg talking about how like bastards are dishonorable just because of how they were born. It was born into them, so they're not to be trusted. And Duncan being like, there's a very good chance that I myself am a bastard. I don't know my father. I was from Flea Bottom. There's a very good chance of it. And it makes Egg question like everything he knows about that prejudice, as well as you have them talking about which, like, the kingdom was like almost evenly split between the black and red dragon. So who was right? What led to this? Egg hearing how people talk about his father and hearing about the people who supported the black dragon, and it's just all impacting him, his development, what he kind of king he would be in the future. And I love that development for him. Did I mention I love Egg so very much? I love him so much. Such a good boy. He lights himself on fire in the future, doesn't he? I bet he's... we're not getting into Harrenhal. We go into Bloodraven, who I love and fear, and I need more from him. I don't know how to feel about Bloodraven, especially during this time. So he was technically a Blackfire, but he sided with the Loyalist, and he's been the hand of two kings, but something later on gets him banished from that, and he's got this network of spies, just like Varys in current time period, name left my brain. And I love the development for the history and the lore and the story in this story. And then you have the tourney happens, and why did I think that this would be predictable? Because Sir Duncan falls off his horse. He loses in the first match. So A, he wins no money, and B, now he has to give up his armor and his horse. And Egg is just like, let me use my boot. And he's like, no, you can't. I lost. It is the honorable thing. It's the noble thing. I have nothing to buy it back with. I have to give it to the winner. And Egg tending to Sir Duncan. And it's a delight. It's seeing them together and what they mean to each other and protecting each other and caring for each other all throughout the story. Maybe I do love this story. I think I might love this more than I remember. And then you have the plot of someone trying to kill Duncan, A, for a dream, seeing him as a possible future Knight of the Kingsguard, but also for some things he overheard, as a new Blackfire rebellion is up in works, as they have someone to take their place and ride behind and get people to rally with. And then you have the fake stealing of the egg and the torture of an innocent man, a young knight, an up-and-comer, who is just the best good boy. You have Duncan throwing a man in a well, half dead, being like, where is Egg? What have you done with my squire? And him going on a bloodbath rage trying to find him to get him to safety, finding him in the sept, and realizing Egg had already taken care of everything because he's bluffed his way. It's just like, hey, all of you people who are Blackfire loyalists, not loyalists because loyalists would imply the other team, traitors, all of you, my father already knows what you're up to. I've sent word to him. Him and Bloodraven are on the way. You're all screwed. And then the guy in charge of the tour is like, please, please, young prince, it wasn't me. It wasn't my fault. I'm sorry. Let me make this up to you. No, you're not being kidnapped. I promise. You're not harmed, right? Everything's okay. And Duncan comes in covered in blood and is just like, which one of you had my squire? Give him back to me. Egg's just like, I got this. I knew you'd come save me. And then another one comes up to him. It's just like, I beat you in the turn. And he's like, yeah, well, now I'm going to beat you bloody. And it's wonderful. It's a fight. It's a delight. I love Sir Duncan the Doll. And then, of course, you have Bloodraven and his men coming to save them finally and arresting everyone who's trying to get a new Blackfire rebellion on the go. And the egg had been stolen, possibly by a dwarf. It's a whole thing. I did like this story, okay? I forgot how much I like this story. But overall, these three shorts, an absolute delight. Developing the world, developing the characters, seeing these characters whose names I heard in the main series, and I just want more. I want more from them. I want more of Fire and Blood. I want more of the Targaryen dynasty. I love the Targaryens, because when they're not, actually when they are actually crazy, they're still fun. But when they're not crazy, they are some of my favorite characters. I want more of Bloodraven. I want more of everything. I love this series. I love this world. What are the chances of us getting a continuation of this novels? Either Fire and Blood, Blood and Fire, or Winds of Winter? Because I'm genuinely hopeful for an announcement by the end of the year for Winds of Winter. I'm genuinely hopeful, and I'm begging for it. So this reading these short stories also got me excited for the Hedge Knight TV show that I wasn't as excited for before. I love this. All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye.